Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to finish up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. If you have your own track that you would like to suggest for special selections, you can find a link to do so in the description below. Today we're going to be looking at a request from James. It says Amatory featuring RAVDINA In Flame. That's what we're going to be checking out today. Let's see what Amatory and RAVDINA are bringing to the table today. Lots of energy, lots of intensity. Pretty standard metalcore stuff so far. Interesting for the pre-chorus to shift to off beats. Interesting to hear such a pop production on the clean vocals there. Okay, halftime feel into a breakdown. Interesting structure. Going for that pure rhythmic element. Oh, another halftime feel. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that yet. Interesting. Yeah, going into that, probably about a minute in, I thought I was in for a pretty typical metalcore song, and pleasantly surprised there after our second verse when we kind of went off the rails and started doing our own semi-linear thing before returning back to our chorus to wrap that up. So yeah, I guess that's the first thing. Let's get into that, right? Structure. Typically with metalcore, I'm expecting an A B A B C B. We'll do a verse chorus, head into a bridge, and finish out with a chorus. Typically, our bridge is going to be either a solo section or a breakdown. Those tend to be the two most popular bridges in metalcore, and we had a breakdown here. Definitely part of our bridge, but the interesting thing is, so Sorry. Um, we had a verse. We had an interesting pre-chorus into it. Then we had our verse, and then we went into a halftime feel. And I was expecting it to be another pre-chorus, and it wasn't. It was its own section. It was 8 bars long or so, not a full 16 bar section like we had seen in our other verses and choruses, but lengthy enough to be given its own section, I'd say. We can call it the C section. After that, we run into our D, which is our bridge or our breakdown. Um, and we move out of this into another halftime feel. Bit of a slower moment, kind of back the guitars down, bring the vocals down a little bit. I'm curious if there is a callback here. Maybe this is a verse, but but a cleaner verse rather than an not electric, distorted verse. Because it sounds familiar, but I can't say 100% that it is a callback to something or it's a variation on something we had already heard. It was just vaguely familiar to me. And then, of course, we move this into our final chorus. So, not entirely unique. We still have verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus. It's just that instead of going to a second chorus there, we actually turn it into its own unique area before we head into our more typical outro. So, yeah, I said it was a unique structure, and it is, but it's not as unique as I thought. Still, it kept me on my toes, and that is certainly something I listen for when I'm checking out something that, at least on the surface, appears to be a bit more um, iterative. Really honing in something that works. There's a lot of metalcore bands that would have just went for a second chorus there, and they decided to change things up a little bit. So I appreciate that. The drumming, the guitar work, the bass work, all of that was fine. It was good. I don't want that to seem like a Oh, it was fine. No, I mean it was all very well done. This is a very good iterative metalcore band in that they take the ideas that have solidified metalcore as a popular genre and they refine it with strong production and strong technique in playing. But there's nothing here that really stands out as unique, I would say, either. Our verse is very rhythmically textured. We get a lot of syncopated ideas, but bum 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 bum. Not that melody, of course. That is not a very metal melody. A lot of pedal tone writing, though. Um, and we mix that with our vocals, which are very aggressive, harsh here in the verse. Chorus shifts over to predominantly chordal ideas. Our vocals shift over to, we're going to have to talk about this later. They shift over to very strong cleans, but it's like a pop production. We're going to, like I said, we'll have to get into it. It was interesting to hear. Um, and drumming in both of these sections is pretty much following along with the rhythmic patterns of the guitars in the verse, or just laying down some strong metronomic playing in the chorus. The big change, of course, is going to be the breakdown, in which case we get these really tight rhythmic pockets. I don't think the notes change much at all here. We'll have like a pocket of 5 hits, and a pocket of 4 hits, and a pocket of 5 hits, and then there's that, I don't know, pocket of like 9, 12, something like that. It was just this extended double bass kicks, constant strumming section before going back into the smaller pockets to create that rhythmic syncopation. Um, Pretty typical breakdown stuff. Pick a note, do some rhythmic stuff on it. Leave a lot of space, right? That's that's a breakdown in a nutshell. And then our two cleaner sections basically took the chords that we had, but instead of strumming full chords, we arpeggiated on them. Um, so we got the chordal feeling while also creating a bit of a melodic element to it. It's a bit reductive, but that is a breakdown of what the band was doing. in almost every aspect of the track. Again, like I said, nothing that really stands out and puts the band on a different level outside of typical metalcore. Very iterative stuff that plays within the genre's strengths. But again, that's the thing about iterative bands, is that they do what works, and what works works because it works. Just a terrible way to be descriptive and analytical, but there's a reason why we have genre tropes, and that's because they're very effective. So for an iterative band, they're going to want to choose what's effective, and that's going to be typically what's inspired them. So yeah, there's nothing groundbreaking here, but that doesn't mean it's bad either. It does what it does very well. This song is very catchy, it's groovy, it's easy to listen to because of its similarity to other bands like them. So yeah, and like I said, maybe I didn't say I'm a huge metalcore fan. I lined right up with a lot of what this was doing musically, so even though it isn't breaking new ground, again, it doesn't mean it's bad. All right, moving on. Vocal production. This was kind of bizarre. The harshes are typically produced. I don't know. I don't really pay a lot of attention to harsh production other than growls, because typically that's also done in like black metal, and black metal my ear's always on production anyways. But harshes don't typically draw me to the production angle. I usually just take them at face value. I don't know if that's just because I'm still acclimating to them, but I don't typically think about production when it comes to harshes. The cleans, though, this is wild. Pop production is honestly the closest analogy I can have here. There is at least 4 layers of clean vocals at any moment. There are 2 layers centered. Feels like double track. There's slight deviations to them. It isn't like they just copy pasted for the extra width. But there's also a left and a right vocal track as well. It might just be one vocal track. I didn't quite land on this yet. That was just pushed out to the sides. But it was providing both width, space, and harmony. But it was also much quieter. Then on top of that, I think all 3 or 4 of them also had reverb on them, as well as some sort of widening element to just give them that larger than life feel. Also elevated them above the rest of the band, made them so much larger. It honestly felt like the vocals were bigger than the band, which is huge. I mean, just think about that. Uh, I don't know. I was going to say scientifically, but I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. Anyways, the human voice versus amps. It's just not a fair fight. There's no reason. Uh, and this is like a weird thing too, because like I can bring this up about any band. No voice is ever going to be as powerful as an amp, so the vocals shouldn't ever be that high up. Like, that's not what I'm saying. They just seem to, instead of being in the spotlight, which you expect, they sort of get pushed way over the spotlight. There's too much spotlight on them, is another way of saying it. And it doesn't feel out of place until you look at it, until you really hone in on it, and you're like, yeah, there's a lot going on here. Um, to me, the first chorus, I was just grooving with it. It's fine. The second chorus, it kind of stood out a little bit to me. Maybe there was something that was extra put on the second chorus. But aside from that, it works, right? Like I said, as long as you're not like honing in on it and critically like zooming in and saying what's going on with these vocals, I don't think there's that big of a problem with it. It really is this specific environment where I am orchestrally listening to metalcore, which is kind of a funny thing to say. I highly doubt there are very many people who are sitting in a beanbag. They put their headphones on, they throw on like some metalcore, and they're like, "All right, let me listen to each individual instrument specifically and clearly." Like, it's just not a situation. So I don't think anybody would ever say this is a bad idea to do as far as the production goes. This is a very isolated, niche, specific environment that I'm listening to the music in. But yeah, it has the pop production vocal on it though, which is just like overly produced to the point that it detracts if you look too closely. And this is a problem I have with some pop productions. If you just listen to them, they're fine. If you listen to the vocals, it starts to fall apart. It's not something that works well with scrutiny. It's definitely done, produced in a way that is best viewed as a whole, not as a singularity. It's designed to fit within the larger ideas. So when I really hone in and zero in on the vocals here, and I say that they kind of stand out a bit, that's because they're not designed to be listened that way. But it is very interesting, at least just for me, to hear vocals done this way. And maybe this is a bit more common than I know as far as metalcore clean vocals go, and I'm just haven't picked up on it before. Maybe it just the production was tucked away just a little bit cleaner, and I didn't pick up on the edges. But yeah, it's very interesting. Uh, Production aside, though, the vocals are killer. Absolutely love both the cleans and the harshes. There's a lot of power behind the harshes, a lot of grit, a lot of energy that just goes along with the metalcore vibes. The cleans are very large and expressive. Being that our vocalist was the only one present in the video, I don't know if our suggester wanted me to really dig into the vocals here, but I think that's about as far as I can go as a non-vocal coach. The vocals just worked for me. Like I said, lots of energy, lots of power, lots of width. Some of that comes from the production, some of it comes from the performance. Just a really great vocalist to pair with this kind of music. I don't know who's who though. Who's Amatory? Who's RAVDINA? Who's being featured here? Does the band not have a vocalist? And is RAVDINA our vocalist here? In which case, that's interesting. I can't say I've heard of an instrumental metalcore band before. But the pairing right here is just perfect. Like, if this was 2017, so I don't know what history has done for these two groups of people, but if they haven't decided to form a band or something, I think it's a big missed opportunity because the two work very well together. Um, I think that's gonna wrap this one up. Then I touched on the instruments, the structure, music, vocals, production. Normally I dig into lyrics here, but I honestly cannot find any. I checked their Facebook. I checked so many lyric sites. I even scrolled through the comments hoping somebody had put them down, and I saw a couple that said, I wish I could find lyrics for this. So apparently I'm not the only one in this boat. So a little early on this one, but that's all the thoughts I have on this track. That is my thoughts on Amatory featuring RAVDINA In Flame. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this one or not. Anything that stood out to you, anything you'd like to add on to what I stated or correct me on. Go ahead and drop those ideas down there. Above the comment section is a description box. In there is a link for Linktree, which takes you to this menu right here. It has links for everything related to the channel. You can pick up merch, support the channel through Patreon, follow me on Twitter, submit your own special selections, join the Discord community, and so much more. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, that wraps it up today. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. We're going to continue on with Gotta Go Slow Week. We'll do our final special selection for the week as well. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening. Whenever you choose to watch my videos.